when I was 17, I wrote a short film called The Dirk Diggler Story.
Did you?
Yeah, and I actually shot it on videotape.
Right.
And it had like a sort of like Zelig slash Spinal Tap kind of format, this sort of fictional documentary, you know, which, you know, I was just a Zelig fan and a Spinal Tap fan, and I was also, you know, 17 years old, so I was completely immersed in watching porno, you know, in a kind of horny young boy way, but also in like a sort of in like a filmmaker way. Like I wanted to make movies, and here were these terrible movies, but that I also kind of got off on them, and they were so goofy and bad, you know. So sort of all those things were kind of, and I lived in the Valley too, in the San Fernando Valley, which is the capital of porn production. So it was always kind of peripherally around me. There was a warehouse near where I went to high school that had, there's like, here would be sort of like a portion of the warehouse that had some signage, you know, and then there'd be another one with a big sign, and then just like a stretch of warehouse that had no signage at all, but a ton of like expensive cars parked out in front. So you're like, what the fuck is going on inside that one with no sign, you know? And you know, it was clear they were making porno movies, so I just stuck this, and the story obviously stuck with me for 9 years. You know, I was 9, 10 years. I was 20, 25, 26 when I made it. So,
that's your first film?
It's actually my second movie. Boogie Nights is my second movie. And Hard 8 or Sydney is my first one. This is a movie that I wrote and directed. It was my first movie, and I had the most horrendous time through the editing process. It was just like financed by people whose roots were in television, bad television, like Baywatch type television stuff, and who decided to try and get into movies. And it was just a situation where clearly they hadn't read the script, you know. And I delivered the movie, and they were sort of really confused, and all I could do was kind of point to the script and say, this is what I shot, this is what you paid for, this is what you agreed to. And this sort of argument would always come up, well, the script is not the movie, and the movie is not the script. It's like, but that's the agreement, you know, and I stuck to it.
What do you think about, if you've seen a lot of porn movies, what do you think about the level of, just the way they're made? Could they be better? Oh,
yeah, I mean, God, there's so much to talk about here, because porno movies, they could be a genre, you know, and they should be a genre.
I think so.
You know, like, let me put you this way. There's a whole series of John Holmes movies, and they're called, like, the Johnny Wad, and it was this character he created where he was this sort of suave, sophisticated detective. It's a lot like the Brock Landers stuff that Dirk Diggler creates. It's sort of all modeled after that. And he's this kind of Humphrey Bogart detective, and he's a little bit James Bond, a little bit Sam Spade, you know? And just think about that structure. They're essentially murder mysteries, right?
Right.
But they're also fuck films. So you're on the hook in this sort of it's just pure story, and you're just pure what's going to happen next. I want to see you fuck. I want to see him defuse the bomb. It's exciting. It's like
well made.
Well, they don't really pull that off because they're actually sexy because they're on film, and certainly just it helps that the girls are at least a natural. You know what I mean? If you're looking at it as a pure sort of hormone boy way, you're like, you know, my sort of like, my hormones go towards, like, oh, she's pretty. And no, she doesn't have huge, enormous fake tits and this flat washboard stomach that somehow doesn't feel real to me. It's like watching science fiction. I mean, it's a sci-fi movie at that point, you know. There's girls, like, there's like a little zit on her butt, you know what I mean? She's got a little tummy, you know what I mean? And her tits aren't out to here. And you're sort of watching sort of natural. And the same thing with the guys. It's kind of like, the guys are not appealing in porno today.
No.
And I'll be the first to say, yeah, that guy is sexy looking, or I want to see him fuck. But there's like fucking robots, you know what I mean? So if you start with the acting, and not even just the acting or the dialogue, just sort of physically looking at these people who are just chiseled to perfection, and there's nothing you can relate to. You instantly, it doesn't make sense to you. It's watching space aliens. Okay, so there's that. Now with the Johnny Wad stuff, it's pretty, it's pulled off because it also has a sense of humor about itself. And when it doesn't, boy, it's really funny to laugh at. But it's also really funny to laugh with, you know, when it knows. It knows it's not taking itself too seriously, and it does a good job. And John Holmes is quite an actor. He's really natural, you know. But the main thing is that a lot of the sex doesn't happen for the camera. And that's the thing, is that, I mean, that's what most porno actors complain about, is that every position in porno is completely uncomfortable because it's completely unnatural. It's for the camera. It's like having an actor, like, can you cheat a little bit this way?
Sure.
And they're going,
but that's not my eye line.
Exactly. And they feel like stiff or something. Porno acting and sex scenes in the 70s were much more sort of, let the camera figure it out. Do you know what I mean? So the camera's a bit more sort of handheld and a little bit sort of more renegade in trying to get into the spot to get the good juicy close-ups that you want to get. Somehow it comes out feeling more sexy and natural.
Yeah, of course.
But nowadays, you rent a porno movie and it's just, they're in sort of contortions and positions that are clearly guided towards the camera. But you can't, don't make a fucking bit of sense, or, and don't come off as sexual in any way, you know? I mean, the goal of a porno movie, I think, should be to give you a boner.